Hey there, thanks for joining me again, friends, at my channel, Christy Redefined. Just the story of me being an estranged mom and moving my whole life to get away from the sadness to Portugal, to Lisbon, Portugal, where I'm now a student at the University of Lisbon, learning Portuguese for full-time. And I'm actually here on campus. I'll show you a little bit in one of the courtyards right now that is not full of students. It may be in a couple minutes, but I wanted to just do a day in the life. It's been a really kind of an emotional week for me here in light of a couple things that happened. I don't know if you heard about the it's called the Elevador Gloria, which is a super popular tram transportation ride. It's basically a cable car, just like in San Francisco, but the moving system is built on a cable that pulls one cable car against another in order for it to go up and down the hills. So on Wednesday night, right around rush hour, 6:05 p.m., a cable car full of tourists and some Portuguese, because the Portuguese also use it to climb the hills. But the cable snapped, and the cable car that was at the top of the hill had no brakes, basically, and was full of people. And they're like, imagine a cable car that's over 100 years old back in the US. That's what it's just wood and metal. There's no high-tech bumper systems or any safety systems on board. There's not even any seat belts. So bless the driver. I mean, he's gone now, but something happened and the cable snapped. The cable car that was starting to get full of tourists at the bottom of the hill fell about 1.5 meters when that cable snapped. The suspension dropped. And so the people were at least warned, like something crazy is about to happen, so they all started exiting. And then within seconds, my understanding, I wasn't there, I ride that tram every few weeks because it leads to one of the most beautiful viewpoints in Lisbon. And I go there, probably every 6 to 8 weeks to just have a cup of coffee and stare at the view. So this cable car full of 38 passengers came careening down an extremely steep hill. And as it turned to go back into port at the bottom, it derailed and it ran into a building, and almost the entire cable car collapsed. Passersby said it looked like cardboard just folded, and immediately 15 people died. 3 were immediate on scene, determined that they were dead, and then as time went on, they determined that another 12 had died. And then overnight, after they got some people to the hospital, the survivors to the hospital, 1 other person died. So 16 total deaths so far, and there are still 5 in really grave condition. Some of the nationalities of the people are Canadian, Ukrainian, I believe there's another one, was it Moroccan, Canadian, American, Ukrainian. So far, they're pretty closed-mouthed about the exact nationalities and how many of that nationality, because they're trying to go through the embassies to contact their families. It's such a tragedy. So if you imagine, those of you that live in a city, if you can imagine like the biggest tourist spot in that city. So for me, Philadelphia, like Independence Mall, where U.S. Constitution Hall is, where they wrote the Constitution. Imagine like one of those double-decker buses basically overturning, and people both on the street and on that vehicle die right in front of the biggest, most popular tourist spot in your city. That's basically what happened. And so the mayor declared yesterday, today, and tomorrow as days of mourning here in Portugal. The mayor and the president of Portugal, said that we're mourning. So I got really affected by that. It is just because I ride it every 6 to 8 weeks, I'll ride that exact. And I've got friends that I brought there, my family, and we rode it. And it's just really just shocking, really shocking. I think there were two 3-year-olds on board, and thank God the babies survived. 2 3-year-olds survived. They were injured, but minor injuries. But one of the babies was German, the 3-year-old. One of the children, the father died, and the mother is in very grave condition. They don't know if she's going to make it. So it's just super, super disheartening, really depressing, it just affected me. So that's one thing I'm dealing with today. And then also, on a different note, I have my renewal of student residency permit coming up in 5 days. And I'm nervous because, I have a residency permit. It's totally fine. But I'm gathering all the documents, which is why I'm at school, because I'm here to gather the document that says I'm a legal student. Yeah, I've paid for the next semesters, and I'll be here until I'm registered at school here until the end of May. So 2 semesters in a row. And so I'm here to gather that declaration. They call it a declaração de inscrito, and so that I've enrolled. So I'm gathering that today, picking that up from the office. So that's why I'm here on campus. And so I'm a little nervous about that because, if the immigration officer that I get is in a bad mood, doesn't like the way I look, they could say no. They could say, we're not approving your student permit to live here, your residency permit. My lawyer, who I had a meeting with yesterday, was like, why are you making up, trouble and worrying about that? You'll be fine. You're studying, you're Portuguese. You can tell you're studying, you're trying, your grammar isn't the best, as my professor tells me all the time, but it's clear that you're studying and you're doing the right thing. And, you've got a bank account here, you've got a apartment contract here, you're doing the right thing, you're enrolled in schools, you'll be fine. So that's next week, and I'll do an episode after I finally get my new residency card, or they may mail it to me. So I'm a little nervous about that. And then, on a totally different note, my Philadelphia Eagles had their home opener, their season opener at the Lincoln Financial Field, and my Eagles just squeaked out a win against our hated rivals, the Dallas Cowboys, who came into town and tried to wreck our night, but we somehow squeaked out a win, and it was not like a hard-fought win that we just really kicked their butt and it was a gritty win. Nah, CeeDee Lamb dropped 3 passes that he normally wouldn't drop. We just happened to squeak out a win because Jalen Hurts is a winner and he refuses to lose. So he used his legs to win. And so, and it worked. So we won the game 24-20. So happy about that, but our defense is really, really suspect right now. I forgot that those of you that watch the game or know about football, Jalen Carter, our number one defensive player, he spat on, right even before the game started. It was when they weren't even on the field yet. They hadn't even pulled a snap yet. He went over to the huddle of the Cowboys for some reason and started something with Prescott. And then he spat on him. You don't spit on an opposing player. Who does that? I'm like, Jalen Carter. He had some character issues before we drafted him a couple of years ago. And we lost some veteran leadership on our defense. Brendan Graham left, and so did Slay. He left, and so did Sweaty. Josh Sweat left. So those were our 3 veterans in our defense, and so there's no leadership to kind of corral these young guys who, I'm sure his friends like Nakobe Dean and Nolan Smith are great personalities, really good guys. I'm sure they'll rein him in, but Jalen Carter, you don't spit on people. You just don't do that. That's inhumane. It's insulting, it's inhumane. It doesn't belong on a football field. If you're mad at somebody, you sack them and then you walk away. that's paybacks. So whatever you were mad at, you convert into great play on the field. That's what you do to win the game. So that being said, I'm sure that Vic Fangio and Coach Sirianni will have a lot to talk to him about. So that's my week. I'm having and I didn't sleep the night of the tram accident, the night of the cable car accident. I didn't sleep that night. I watched too much Instagram reels of it where it was pretty graphic, and I just couldn't sleep. You could hear the toddlers that were trapped in there screaming, and people were moaning and screaming, and I just couldn't get that out of my head, and I couldn't sleep. And then last night the Eagles game came on at 1:20 in the morning, and there was a rain delay, a thunderstorm delay, because there was lightning in the area, so they delayed the game by an hour. So instead of being 3.5 hours, that game wound up being 4.5 hours. By the time the game ended, it was like 5:30 in the morning. I get up at 6 anyway, so I just stayed awake and just started my day. So not great sleep the last 2 nights. And let's see what else is going on. It is Flashback Friday, so I'm going to send my son his usual pictures of him when he was a kid, and that's how I communicate with him. Those of you that may have seen, my son turned 21 on August 24th, and I sent him an email, and I send him an email every Friday. He's started to respond, and so whether he responds or not, I send him an email. So he never responded to his birthday email, but I'm still going to send him his Flashback Friday email and send him pictures of him when he was little. He likes that, so that's what I'll do. So again, my advice to you, if you're reaching out to your child, is do it for you, right? My son didn't respond about his birthday, and that's totally okay with me. I know that he's getting my emails. He has responded in the past, and he is safe. And I sent him, an email saying, I love you. If you need me for anything, or if you want a gift, I can send you an e-card from somewhere. So that is what I'm going to do the rest of the day. That and catch up on political news, because I have been not watching politics in the last 2 days, and I know that the Epstein victims had a full-on press conference, and there's been a lot of fallout from there. They've also talked to members of the Oversight Committee, and lots came out from there. So I'll be doing probably an episode just about politics maybe in the next day or 2. All right, my friends, thank you again for joining me here on my channel, Chris D. Redefined. Please hit subscribe if you want to follow my journey, and I'll see you at the next episode.